Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in our democracy, the people decide the composition of this honorable House. In our democracy, when the people decide, they send their representatives to this honorable House. In 1997, the people voted 16-1. There was one opposition member in 1997. In 2021, the people voted 2 opposition members in this honorable House. So, Mr. Speaker, if the people of St. Lucia wanted more representation in this honorable House, they would have voted for more members of the United Workers' Party. The people voted for 2 members in the United Workers' Party. Suddenly, we have lost our respect for the will of the people. The will of the people no longer matter. We've lost our respect, and we believe that because we have a divine rule to run this country, that we can come to this honorable House and dictate what we want, when we want, and how we want. 2 members of the opposition are in this honorable House. The leader of government business stood, and he made for the first time in St. Lucia's parliamentary history, the leader of government business wrote a letter to the leader of the opposition offering him time to speak. The leader of the opposition responded saying when he wants to speak, based on a ratio that he worked out for himself. The leader of government business stood up again, and he wrote him. And he wrote him again, and he said, please change your mind. Let us be mature in this exercise. Change your mind and speak in the allotted time. I will even give you the same amount of time as the Prime Minister, even if you do not respond as is the normal process. He refused again. The leader of government business stood up in his honorable House and begged the leader of the opposition to speak. Literally begged him. Tell him, come on, I will still give you the same amount of time, even if you've lost it because you did not reply right away. He refused to speak, Mr. Speaker. Yes, and again told him, it's 7 o'clock in the evening. You speak. You speak. It's prime time. His response was, what's prime time? So, Mr. Speaker, those who are there who want to refashion the story, refashion the history, tell about the people are the ones who decide who comes into the parliament. If the people wanted to put more members of the opposition parliament, they'll put them. So, Mr. Speaker, I rise to close that historic debate, Mr. Speaker. And I once more want to thank my colleagues and even thank the member for Choiseul, because he realized that my government was not a government of vindictiveness, was not a government that would want to make you cry. That's not a government that said we lost our right to speak. But I know, and I heard people talking about Choiseul. I also have roots in Choiseul. But I know that handicraft is important to Choiseul. So one of the first projects that we are going to do, not only in the small business, but in the youth economy, is promote handicraft in Choiseul for the people of Choiseul. I've also told him, and he's got it before, allocations when we give parliament she represents his allocations. So he's got his allocation already, and he's going to get his allocation in the CDP, Mr. Speaker, as I promised him, not like what they did to us. So he'll get his allocation, and I'm sure he will use it in a diligent manner. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to just make one slight comment here today. Because the mark of a man is when he is able to say he made a mistake. That's the mark of a man, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, in my business, in our business, we get information from different sources, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, on page 19 of my speech, and I would like you to make the record straight, Mr. Speaker, I said, and I quote, a mechanical dryer purchased by Wasco at a cost of $662,447 never functioned, could not be repaired, and reported the vendor could not be located for recovery costs. Mr. Speaker, the only I want to just make a slight statement, a slight change to that statement, Mr. Speaker. First of all, the vendor could be located, but he never repaired. He never repaired the machine, Mr. Speaker. That's the first thing. He was located, but he never repaired the machine, Mr. Speaker, and I have documents to prove that. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the dryer was bought at a cost of $662,000, and it only worked the maximum 5 and the minimum twice. It was purchased to dry the silt that came from the dam. It worked for the minimum twice and the maximum 5. And as we speak today, this dryer is packed at Union on the tarpaulin, not working, Mr. Speaker. And the supplier has refused to come to fix it. So when they want to make a big, and I agree, I agree, I said the buyer could not be found. I was wrong. That's what I was told, and I was wrong. And I admit it. Unlike certain people who say things and stand by it, and even though you prove they lie, they back up their lies and they lie again. And I'm going to give you some examples of that lie, Mr. Speaker. Because when they believe that they can show off, Mate, I agree. I was told that they couldn't find a supply. I agree that. And I was wrong. But we still have to account for the $662,000 that was bought for a piece of equipment that is now under a tarpaulin at Union. And that's the question. But no matter what they say, the question of Wasco and the Roseau and the Jace, the John Compton Dam, that matter will not end. That because you spent $51 million on that project. You were supposed to take off 134 tons of silt. You spend all the money, you haven't only taken 7%. You understand? So don't believe because I made an error with the supplier, you'll get away with that. You won't. The story of the John Compton Dam is going to be told. You only have $2 million left in the NERC, and you said the NERC had authority. There is information that the NERC questioned the purchase of that dryer because the NERC said that that dryer should have been bought by the contractor that you chose by direct award. You understand me? So don't believe you have anything on me. I made a mistake. Of course I made a mistake. And I apologize because I made a mistake. But don't believe you have anything on me. You have nothing on me. Nothing. And you'll have nothing on me. What are the procurement guidelines that bought that dryer? The dryer arrived in St. Lucia in January. They arrived in January. By March, it wasn't working. By March, it wasn't working. Right? And up to now, it worked for the maximum 5 times and the twice for the minimum. Why, if you have, where is the guarantee on a piece of equipment that costs that more money? $662,000. Where is the guarantee? If you buy a car, and after the 1 month the car isn't working, there's a guarantee. If you had dealt the necessary due diligence, won't you have had the supplier to have to pay for the repairs to that dryer? So not going to make a big fuss because I say you couldn't find the supplier. I made a mistake, yes. But answer your questions now. And the people of St. Lucia will get answers to these questions, Mr. Speaker, as they will get answers to St. Jude and he won Nora Airport and the road in Rodney Bay. No amount of fluff and buff can stop them, Mr. Speaker. So I hope I have put that gyre question to rest. Mr. Speaker, if you make, there's a friend of mine, if he's listening, he says, once a philosopher, twice a prophet. If you make the same mistake twice, you're wrong. I mean, the member of Choiseul had a lot of, he sat there, and in the beginning, he was very magnanimous. But as he grew into politics, he became a little like the rest of them. But I have told the member for Choiseul is that what he's saying, he doesn't mean, that's not him. The member of Choiseul is a guy who's pretty humble. The member of Choiseul was a fellow who everybody can see when they were in the bank, he helped them. That's not a member of Choiseul. But the member of Choiseul got himself intertwined in bad company. You know, he's going bad. So the member of Choiseul listens to his leader and comes and speaks to my budget, but he can speak Patois. So he say Mati, but his leader say Mati. But he can speak Patois, so he say Mati. And listen to what the member of Choiseul says that I lie about in the budget. He said, okay. He said the budget is a lie. So everything in the budget is a lie. Mr. Speaker, the member for Choiseul criticized the income tax policies that I spoke of, saying that that's nothing. Mr. Speaker, again, look at the difference between me and us and them, Mr. Speaker. I stood up in the budget, in my address, I said we had made a promise for $48,000 tax-free. But after reviewing the situation, we found we could not do it now, so we've deferred it. What is wrong with that? I said it. I didn't hide it. I didn't go and say we will remove that and never remove it. I didn't say I'll put ching-ching in your pocket. I didn't say, has Kenny Anthony Mason just said he didn't. But I said ching-ching is not money. I never said so. I said we'd made a promise. And because of the situation, we cannot promise. We can't do it again. So this year, it was $48,000. We've changed it to 25, and later on, we'll do what we're supposed to do. But you know, Mr. Speaker, is the contempt. Let me tell you what that $25,000 would do for people, Mr. Speaker. You see, Mr. Speaker, if you born and daddy gave you everything for a golden spoon, and you don't understand what it is to be frugal, certain things will mean nothing to you, Mr. Speaker. But let me tell you what my income tax. And then again, the husband said, oh, that's nothing, the member for Choiseul. Oh, you talk about tax relief and you do it in January. For a simple reason, Mr. Speaker, it's personal income tax, and personal income tax is from January to December. So you expect somebody to change their code mid-year?
Speaker.
Member for Choiseul.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, just my issue there was your...
Seeking a point of clarification. That is not a point of order.
He's misleading with the statement that he made. Because what I said, what I was indicating to him, he said immediate. And 2023 cannot be immediate. That was the point I was pushing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. But tax changes in tax, Mr. Speaker, they come for the year of income, January to December. So you cannot change someone's tax code in the middle of the year. So but Mr. Speaker, the more fundamental point is that somebody now who gets $25,000 a year, that person will pay $700 tax. All things being equal, no allowances. With our proposal, they'll pay no tax. So they save $700. $700, Mr. Speaker, is a lot of money for a lot of us. Higher up the income chain. If somebody's allowances do not change, and they get their allowances don't change, but they get the personal allowance of $25,000, they will save money because their tax base, what you tax them on, comes less because you've increased the allowance. So everybody, except those whose allowances are more than $30,000, will get a tax break at all levels, Mr. Member for Choiseul. But you know, what was very striking is that you see the opposition and the advocates talk about St. Lucia and the government. You would believe that this government is in power for 8 years, you know. You would believe that, listen, the Labour Party and Philip J. Pierre is Prime Minister for 8 years. But you know it was the same leader of the opposition who said, give his government 2 years to do anything. He said, give his government 10 years to do everything. But with us, 8 months and we must change the world. But let me tell you the world that we found, Mr. Speaker, and the world under which this budget was constructed, Mr. Speaker. Let me tell you the world we're in. There was COVID. Soon after COVID, during COVID, with COVID, you have a war of serious proportions that has shaken the whole world. And there's a fundamental difference between the COVID crisis and the Ukraine war. What COVID did, the entire world came together to fight COVID. Chinese scientists worked with American scientists, Russian scientists worked with American scientists. Everybody came together, Cuba, to fight COVID. So the entire world was affected. What's happening now, Mr. Speaker? COVID has not been eradicated, but you have a war which has divided the world into two. Russia against the world. How can you look at that situation where everyone is predicting food shortages? Somebody even predicting starvation because the greatest suppliers of wheat, Russia and Ukraine, they will no longer have any wheat production. And that is what you expect a responsible leader of the opposition who was in government just in July, Mr. Speaker, to say, and I've put on the olive branch. I've said, let's come and speak about the economy. Let's speak about it. The problem facing the world today is one of the greatest threats that the world is exposed to from time memorial. A war and disease. Everything in the world is going upside down. But the leader of the opposition and his surrogates prefer to pretend that that exists. So what do you do? What am I saying to people about the price of gasoline? I have said it, Mr. Speaker. I have said it. Gasoline, as we speak, and in the adjustments that will come on Tuesday, we will make 0 cents on diesel. 0 cents on diesel and 80 cents on gas. The member just says that happened before. That's never happened before. We've never made 80 cents on gas. Never. 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 Because right now what's happening is that the gasoline now, the supply has been constricted, but the demand is still there. Because Russia is one of the world's largest producers of gas, both gas, fuel, and natural gas, Mr. Speaker. So, tell me something. What can a government do? And I'm going to come to the thing about surpluses, Mr. Speaker. Because, that blatant economic bastardization must stop. Must stop. When you talk about surpluses, so let's compete the gas, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the price of gas, if we had to make the $2.50 per gallon, as we should make, Mr. Speaker, the price of gas would be $1.70 more than what it costs now. And if we had to make the $4, Mr. Speaker, it would be $19.95 per gallon of gas. So we are making the sacrifices, we are subsidizing it by that amount. So what else can we do for fuel again? The difference is very simple. The difference is you should still make your $1.50 or your $1.80 or your $2. That's the difference, comrade. You had some revenue, but right now we have nothing, no revenue. That's the difference. That's a basic difference. The revenue now on diesel is 0. That's the problem. We have nothing. There's no revenue now. And during the time, we did not make, because you see, it's a double problem. During COVID, it was a problem of demand. Now it's a problem of supply. But it's worse now, because right now your supply is severely constricted. The reason why your supply was different on the COVID, because you had no demand. That's the basic difference. So we are making a sacrifice for the benefit of the consumer by keeping the price of gas where it is. Just like cooking gas. Cooking gas is being subsidized by $27. $27, Mr. Speaker. We are subsidizing cooking gas because if you had to sell cooking gas at the same price, the consumer would not be able to purchase it. So it is unfair to say, what are we doing about the price of gas? Food, Mr. Speaker, food. The member for Soufrière. The problem with the food supply again is twofold. One, there's no supply, and two, there are no containers to carry the food. There are no containers, you can't carry them. Ces gens, la pani pèse by bouchaï here. There are no containers. Never happened before. The difference between that situation and the COVID situation is in COVID. When COVID relaxed, there was pent-up demand. Everybody's rushing on holiday. Everybody's rushing to shop. Right now, Mr. Speaker, Amazon stock plunges as company reports nearly $4 billion loss. As Amazon stock plunges as company reports nearly $4 billion loss. And why has Amazon stock tumbled, Mr. Speaker? Amazon stock has tumbled for 3 reasons, Mr. Speaker. For 3 reasons. It has tumbled because higher prices. I'm going to talk about inflation in a while. Higher prices, inflation, fuel prices and labor constraints. Shipping cost has doubled. Fuel 1.5 times higher. And because of Omicron, workers have lost their attendance, Mr. Speaker. Because when you are tested positive, you must stay home for 5 days. So this is the world, Mr. Speaker. So Amazon was a company. It made a loss of $7.6 billion, Mr. Speaker. Amazon. And its shares sank around 10%. The pandemic and subsequent war in Ukraine have brought unusual growth challenges, Mr. Speaker. That is Amazon. And you won't tell me you have a little country. No, you have a little country, Mr. Speaker. Inflation. During the last period, there was almost deflation. Almost. Right now, the United States inflation is the highest it has been for 40 years. 8.5 to 10%. In St. Lucia, Mr. Speaker, what do you want a government to do about inflation? When I said, plant more food, instead of as a responsible party, the United Workers' Party said, listen to me, let us get together to see if we can plant more food. Because right now, the bread we're eating will have problems with wheat, and the price is going to be double, if not triple, very soon. You know what they did? Political short-sightedness. And they ridiculed me. They make pay for us to do memes and all kind of things. What hurt me the most in that is the little child that they put on the radio and said, Pierre want me to eat fig oil. Pierre want me to eat fig vet. Pierre. That is sad. Because look at now. Look at what's happened now. The chickens have all come home. And now we have to find ways and means of growing more food so we can eat to avoid the food shortages that will inevitably come. And that is why the Ministry of Agriculture, so much emphasis was placed on the Ministry of Agriculture. And that is why we want to have kitchen gardens in the schools. And that is why the Minister for Health has the elderly people growing food at their homes. Because we have to feed ourselves. So, you know, this political short-sightedness, because you lost the election, it's only 8 months you lost, you know. 9. Only 9 months. You should still be happy that you're in government. But the hatred, the malignment, the nastiness, that happens now because you lost it, because you want to go against the will of the people of St. Lucia, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the other problem is inflation. And I spoke about inflation before. And inflation, and that is why we tried to do something with wages. And again, you member for Choiseul, I was not saying we gave civil servants increase. I said a promise made by the government that we followed. That's what I said. That's a fact. We honored. That's what I said. But with that increase and those that will save by the taxes that they will save when the tax code changes, they should have a little relief, not more, not a lot, a little relief. And I understand that problem. The pensioners have been calling for something. So I said to them, we'll give you a one-off payment in July, and after we'll see what can happen. What else can a government do in this crisis? This is a time of crisis, Mr. Speaker. People I speak to, they say to me, why are you in government at this time? That's what they say. But in spite of that, Mr. Speaker, what has this government been able to do? And the budget says it clearly, because this budget is prepared with the greatest honesty to the people of St. Lucia. We said we are going to pursue an expansionist policy to see if we can put some life into the economy. So we said we're going to change how our borrowing patterns. And again, member for you made a mistake. I didn't say it never happened. I said for the past 5 years. And the record is clear. What I was saying was that borrowing before, we used to borrow mainly on the short-term market. Treasury bills, government paper, bonds, etc. Short-term. You go and you buy, you sell. But this year, because of the high interest rates, another problem we'll have to deal with again. The interest rates are rising. During the last 5 years, people were paying you to lend the money. Interest rates were zero. People had nowhere to put money. And there was extra liquidity in the system. Zero interest rates. Right now, the interest rates are climbing. So the short-term borrowing, the treasury bills, the government paper, the bonds, the rates are going up all the time. So what we did is that we negotiated finance on concessionary terms, and that's an important word, concessionary terms. So what we're trying to do is that we are trying to limit our reliance on the short-term paper and go for longer-term instruments. Help us save interest rates and give us some money so we can buy out some of the instruments. That's all we're doing. So what we're doing is that we are managing the economy, managing the finances in times of inflation, in times of higher interest rates, and in times of war and medical issues Omicron. What have we done in the tourism industry? What have we done? What we've done, if you say, listen to me, there's going to be pent-up need to travel. So what we've done, we said, let us continue in the vein of allowing the benefits of tourism to accrue. We said, let us push the community tourism moving forward. Let's push it. Let's get the residents, the people in Miku, the people in Chozel, your handicraft, the people in South Castries, the people in Denver, the people, let us get them involved in the tourism industry. What did we do? We refashioned the community tourism so that we can get people to benefit from the people who are coming to St. Lucia. But even that is on the threat because of the high cost of travel. Even that is on the threat. So, how did we fashion the economy? We fashioned it with a youth economy. What's the youth economy about? The youth economy never said, and you can read it in the document, it never said that there were never any things for young people to do. But what it said is that in spite of all these things, young people were still feeling frustrated, young people were still feeling neglected, and young people did not think that the government or the system was working for them. So how did we fashion that to get young people a more of a sense of belonging in the system? What we said is we're going to give you a special part of the economy. We're going to call it the youth economy. The youth economy, we're going to put it through a statutory board. That means, and you know that too, members yourself, and the member was thought us right. The bureaucratic strictures and the bureaucratic problems, they frustrate young people. Somebody wants to go, a young guy wants to buy a computer because he wants to do animation. Or he wants to work for a foreign company abroad. To get a computer, they want him to do business plan, where his mother was, where she worked, who his father is, where he living, for $5,000. We said no. We're going to make it flexible. Once your plan is good, we have confidence you will give you half grant or half loan to buy your computer to do your business. That's what the youth economy is about, you know. The youth economy is about a cricketer or a footballer. And again, it happens to me all the time. And it happens to you too. These days, sports has become international. So there are many leagues. There are cricket leagues in India, in Pakistan, in all over the world, they have cricket leagues. Even professional leagues in the region. Some young man wants to play in a league. He hasn't got a ticket. They tell him, okay, you come up, basketball. You come up, and then you will pay. Miss Alfred, who this minister was promoted for, $140,000 more than what you'll spend in the Attorney General office to go after him. So what is the youth economy about? So that young person will be able to come into the office and show his contract. In a few minutes, he'll get his equipment, get his etiquette, permit and vacation. That's what it's about. The youth economy is simply that creative industries, the orange economy, talent, people who can sing. They need an instrument. They need a guitar. They can't get it. The youth economy. Animation. Yeah, animation, sculptors, painters, artists, people who can paint. They can't move it because the system is too rigid for them. Come into the youth economy. Money is there, you get it. That's what it's about, We're not saying we'll give every young person in St. Lucia, but we're saying we've started with $10 million to spend for the young people of St. Lucia. Directly. That's all we're saying, Mr. Speaker. And that's what this budget is all about. This budget is all about education. And again, we never like to admit, when you make a mistake, admit you made a mistake. The government of the United West Party made a mistake when they did not continue the one laptop program. They made a mistake. So they ordered e-books. These e-books are not working. So they excuse that children took the computers and went by the beach and things. That's irrelevant. These are minors dealing with majors.
That's why we have DJs, a lot of people.
Yes. So you see, so if the government made a mistake, they must. You see what happened to the last government? They wanted to stamp the Labour Party out of political history of St. Lucia. They wanted to ensure Kenny Anthony never resurfaces. Doctor, me, hey. Even when I resurfaced to say I surface. And the biggest problem, let me tell you the biggest problem with the leader of the opposition. He thinks he's entitled to be Prime Minister of St. Lucia. And he cannot accept the fact that the people of St. Lucia, led by me, have voted him out of power. And that is his biggest problem. His biggest problem is he never expected that I would have the support of the men and women in here and the men and women out of the country. And the majority of the people in Castries East, God bless them, have won my seat 6 times. 6. He had that confidence to put me in this honorable house. So he hasn't got the maturity or the dignity to say to himself, I've lost, I made some errors, let me see how we can go to come again. And that's his biggest problem. And that is why he's so petulant and arrogant and disrespectful and childish and tantrums, because he can't understand that me, this black boy, beat him in a general election. That's his biggest problem. And all of those, they have that same problem quietly on the outside. You know why? Because some of us are afraid of our own. We do not like to see people we know aspire to the highest heights. And instead of we are proud of somebody you know in Waterworks Road where I was born, people who are on the same street with me, I can call their names, they live on the same street with me at Waterworks Road. You know their problem now? The problem is now I've become Prime Minister of St. Lucia. And that's the biggest, not because of my ability, because I won't talk about ability. I'm just as qualified or more qualified than many people who in the world who have become Prime Minister. So it's not about my ability or what I can do or what I can't do. It's not about my integrity. It's about the fact that they know me. I'm a black boy. I'm not supposed to be Prime Minister. When you did? I'll tell you about what he's done. He's gone to every embassy and backtalked this government. Every embassy. That's what he's done. He's gone and every investor he can find, he said, don't invest in St. Lucia. But I have a letter from Adam Stewart, who on the 20th of May will come here to turn the sword with the minister and myself for his new policy. Because Adam Stewart and Butch Stewart, deceased, understand the philosophy of this government. We disagree with this government that believes when you invest, you must get a fair return for your investment, and we will give you all the incentives within the law to allow you to make a fair return on your investments. He understands that, he understands that. He understands, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, so this belief that this government will fail, look at the men and women on this side. Look at us. There are issues, and I say that, and I know I'm going to get criticized, Mr. Speaker, but in politics, you must get criticized. And I have no, as I may say I made a mistake. Mr. Speaker, the biggest problem with some of these people in this country with our government, when they look at us man to man, from Miku, his mother was a laborer. From Denry, he has no name. Prosper who? Simonson King, his father was a fisherman. Emma, the mother from Soufre with a little member from Southeast Kashmir, from Black Mali. Member from Answer Canaries, from Millets. Who is it? Well, member from Kashmir Central. he always boasts about carrying bananas in his head and living in a little house in Wilton's yard. Member from Grosile, always says his mother was a vendor. She worked to send him to it. Member from Babylon, same thing. Member from Beaufort North always says where he from Beaufort North. He from no boy in Castries. He even scared of Castries. Member from Labrie, same thing. Understands where he's from, where he's going, and his achievements. Member from Denver North, he always says he come from Mabuya. Where he come from? Member for Castries South, from Fulasho. Member for the Attorney General, from Fulasho too. I from Waterworks Road Marshal. So that's you. So you see, Mr. Speaker, the member from Beaufort South, what I say about him is what they forget. So the basic problem with that system, with some people in the system, they cannot understand how that group of people begin to reign St. Lucia without somebody like the leader of the opposition. So it's not a matter of ability. What have we done? What has this government done in 8 months? Tell me, what have we done in the 9 months we were in power? What have we done to affect them? What have we done to destroy the country? What have we done? What we've done? Facility fees, pay CXC fees, laptops, give people what? That's what we've done. But you know, Mr. Speaker, that's the basic problem. It's a problem of not being able to accept people like them. But Mr. Speaker, we've pledged to work for the benefit of the people of St. Lucia. And every man and woman in this team has taken a solemn pledge to put the people of St. Lucia first, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, Desmond Brafitt was buried today. And again, when I talk, I always want to talk I always want to talk the truth all the time. When I make a mistake, I say I make a mistake. Desmond Bradford and I, Desmond was a very strident UWP, very strident. When I was moving my office from you shall get a history. He knows that. During these days, there had to be a change of use. So you had to go to cabinet for a change of use. It came to cabinet, and Desmond Bradford was no. And John Compton, God bless his soul, today is his birthday. Would have been his birthday. Would have been his birthday. John Compton said, what happened? You all don't want a man to earn a living? Right? And Desmond Bradford backed down, and then I got permission to move my office. So I have a series of things from Desmond Bradford. Look at what he said. Vitamins. Our body does not need vitamins. Human body consists of mineral, because Desmond was a little doctor. His son is a herbalist. Listen to Desmond again. Hi, Chief. Single out the residents of Marshall in your address tonight. The people are saying that they are feeling neglected. Next day, Monday 24 she writes, good morning, Chief. You were very fluent last night. I was very impressed. Keep it up. So, because I don't carry hatred. I don't hate nobody. I don't carry no hatred in my politics. Romanus Lansik and I, we fought. The battles were intense. When Romanus died, I called the center after his name. Because even though he didn't build it, he's true. He wanted to do it. Me and the man for Before Love, we've battled politically, heavy political battles. We probably but never hatred. The CDP program is between he, Robert Lewis, and myself, created the CDP program. But this hatred that these people are putting in this country, this hatred on Facebook, and this name calling, that is bad for the country. This hatred, this thing about criticizing everything, criticizing my shoes. At times they say I don't have toes. I stammer. This, Mr. Speaker, you see, if I have to tell them the shoes I wear. Mr. Speaker, budget day, budget day, what shoes I had? Bruno Magli. I just feel like that. Yeah. So, Mr. Speaker,
Prime Minister, you have 15 minutes left.
So, Mr. Speaker, this hatred that we are instilling in this country, this hatred, this thing about elections are finished, but we still, when we're in opposition, Mr. Speaker, when we lost, you know what he did? We wheel and we come back again. We met, we discussed, we strategized, we worked hard, we opposed hard, but we did not generate this hatred, this thing about, it's almost to a point where people believe that they must literally, sometimes you feel like they want to destroy you. Mr. Speaker, every day on Facebook, a lady on Hilaire. Look. Mr. Speaker, 15 minutes or something. Not so much time, half an hour.
Mr. Speaker.
Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to invoke Standing Order 4210 to allow the Prime Minister to speak for an extra half hour.
Members, the question is that we invoke Standing Order 3210 to suspend Standing Order 32.8 to allow the Prime Minister an additional 30 minutes. As many as of that opinion say aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Prime Minister.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, legal fees, Mr. Speaker. When, and you know, these stories have not been told, you know, Mr. Speaker. Grindberg, do you know that this government traveled to Washington and they were told that there is nothing in Grindberg? They were told that there is nothing in there. The thing was done in good faith and there's a potential for, look at it. Supposing we had continued this oil exploration and we found oil. Look at Ghana. Look at Grenada. Grenada has people looking for oil for them. Now that it got kind of messed up because of the Russian situation. Look at Grenada, Barbados. You know, if instead of looking for political retribution, if we had continued the Grindberg exploration, what could happen? What could have happened? You never know. But no, even after you go to Washington and you've been told that there is nothing wrong, you still, political retribution, you still continue. Grindberg, seabed, Grindberg, seabed, Mr. Speaker. And you asked a lot about the inquiry by, what is the name? The inquiry. Lindquist inquiry. Lindquist. Mr. Speaker, you were in government for 5 years. All you had to do is to find the Lindquist report or subpoena the Lindquist report. That's all you had to do. Why are you asking us to get Lindquist or UN in government? Anything I want, I'll get it. And I get in things. That's why I got $70 million that 15th of July, Mr. Speaker. St. Jude Hospital, and the member of us spoke about St. Jude Hospital. 15th of July, a $70 million design finance contract to be paid to a firm. I don't mention the firm's name here. $6 million of finance fees to be paid in 1 year. $70 million on top of $118 million that your own ministry had said you'd spend. So you'd spend $188 million on one floor without one sink. And instead you say to yourself, we made a mistake, we should have continued. And you boast about the report which has never been made a document of the House. The report has a concluding statement. It has a concluding statement. Mr. Speaker, the member for answer, we read it. It said that the existing buildings could continue to be used as a hospital even though there were some errors. That's what the report said. But you know, again, you were persuaded, you went behind him. You were persuaded, corruption. You went behind everybody you could, Mr. Speaker. Instead, and whilst you're doing that, the people of the south of the country are suffering because you have a hospital that's not built. And you stayed 3 years. You do nothing on it. You allow it to deteriorate to a point now where we have now to go back and almost start again when you had buildings that your own report told you you could continue. Now who you can blame for that? And the people of St. Lucia saw through that. And they voted against you. I asked you yesterday, why do you think you lost the election? Oh, because you all fooled them. That is the problem. That is the problem. You do not think the people of St. Lucia have the wisdom to make up their own minds when they see the facts. That's the problem. So you look for mistakes. Oh, they fooled them. I heard one father say, oh, they had money, they had so much money. And that's a problem. Admit you made mistakes, member for Shuzel. You made mistakes. And the people rejected you because of your bad governance and your vindictiveness. You were rejected. So, going forward, Mr. Speaker, we are very excited about the future. We're excited. We know we have work to do. We have a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do, Mr. Speaker. And the member for Viewfort South was clear. Implementation. I have said to each of my ministers, we have to implement at a faster rate. But the member for Vivat South spoke about the strictures of the civil service. You know, Mr. Speaker, there is a bill. And you know, sometimes you, as a Minister of Finance, sometimes you feel frustrated, very frustrated, very frustrated. There's a bill called the Public Finance Management Bill, Mr. Speaker. And, you know, this is, incidentally, Mr. Speaker, this afternoon at 4:40, there is a meeting with the Vice President of the United States on Zoom, which I have to attend. They're speaking about relationship between America and CARICOM. Because right now, CARICOM has become a focus point because of what's happening in the geopolitics of the world. You heard what Venezuela did for St. Vincent. Venezuela wrote off 8.9% of St. Vincent's debt, and they gave them crude oil at lower prices. So there's that meeting, Mr. Speaker. But you know, Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying to you is that in that environment that we have to conduct business, it's a very, very difficult environment. Very difficult environment, Mr. Speaker. So what we've done is that we've crafted the budget in a way that we have a little for everyone, a little bit for everybody, under the stringent circumstances. But we have to implement these projects. And I told the Minister for Investment that he must not speak about any hotel if he's not sure it's going to be built. So there are many hotels. There are many people who are showing interest in St. Lucia. We have given incentives to a lot of hotels, but we're not going to announce it unless we're sure it's going to be built. So today, I got confirmation from Sandals that they are going to be turning the sword on the 20th of May, so we announced it. The Marriott in Point 7, we started in the end of your term, is happening now, so we announced it. The Casabah Hotel, which is working on, we announced it. But there are many other hotels that are in what Brother George used to call in the pipeline. But we are not going to announce them until they're on the ground. So what else is in the budget, Mr. Speaker? The program in education, the technical vocational education, Mr. Speaker, where we're going to ensure, in fact, I don't know if the minister forgot to say it, the whole exam system, CXC, I think, we are having an equivalent exam for technical vocational students, that so if they can't do the CXC, they can go into technical vocation and get the equivalent qualification as a CXC. In the CXC, in education, we are preparing people for the world of work. We are preparing people, and that's what the Tech VOC is all about, Mr. Speaker. And the Minister of Education is exploring, he spoke about the new workplace where we're going to have a new in Viewfort, an area where students can almost be a career development center, Mr. Speaker, because we want to transform the education system so we can have children for the world of work. What are we doing in business? In business, the small business, and you started that. You started with an emphasis on small business, and we're not saying you did not. All we're saying is that this time we are expanding it. We've ensuring that they get more finance because we understand about the importance of small business to the country. But we're not going to stop what you started. You stopped an airport. You stopped the hospital. You stopped the highway. You stopped the administrative center. You stopped the square. Just because you wanted to kill the legacy of the St. Lucia Labour Party. Think of St. Lucia if you hadn't stopped these projects in spite of COVID. Just think of St. Lucia in spite of COVID. We would have had the airport on the verge of completion. St. Jude Hospital would have been finished and patients would have been there. The administrative center in Viewfort would have been built. The Grozer Highway would have been completed. That's what St. Lucia would have liked, And you haven't learned from these mistakes. So, Mr. Speaker, what is most important is in St. Lucia, we are creating a new culture of governance. We want to create a society of meritocracy. We want to create a society, and that is who we are, a society of justice, a society where, regardless of the circumstances of your birth, there's an opportunity for you to have a better life. And that is why we have increased the social programs. And the social programs will mean that not because you're born in poverty, you must die in poverty. And this is why we have increased the allocation to the Ministry of Social Transformation. And we also believe that the elderly must be taken care of. And that is why we're going to expand the elderly care program. We'll try to expand to help the elder people in our society, Mr. Speaker. We want to build a St. Lucia where you are proud to be a St. Lucian. That is who we are. We don't want to have a bitter St. Lucia, to quote him. We don't have a bitter St. Lucia. We want to have a better St. Lucia. And that is what we aim for in government, Mr. Speaker. That is what we are. We want a St. Lucia where a young person who has ambition. We want to create an indigenous class of business people who can work hire the folks and create wealth for themselves. We don't have any problems in profit. We think profit is meaningful and profit is an initiative. But all we're saying is make your profit, but be fair in how you are making it. That is why we're going to look at the minimum wage, which we call a livable wage, so that workers can get a better share of the cake. That's what we're doing. That's the St. Lucia we want. We don't want a St. Lucia. We want a St. Lucia where when you get up in the morning, you feel proud to be a St. Lucian. That your child can say, I can be a Derek Walcott, or Arthur Lewis, or Vincent Paris, or Robert Lee, or any of these, or a Darren Sammy, or any of them. That's the St. Lucia you want, or McDonald Dixon, or Papa Anthony. That's the kind of, or by the way, a St. Lucian became the Archbishop of St. Lucia, Archbishop Malzer, a St. Lucian from Monrepo. No, nothing is too great for St. Lucian to achieve. Nothing, Mr. Speaker. That is the St. Lucia that we want to develop. Where everybody, not a St. Lucia because you're not from one part of the country, you worse than somebody else from another part. That's the St. Lucia we strive for. And that is what this budget is seeking to do. This budget is seeking to make a St. Lucia where that will be the best place to live and work. That is what we are striving for. We are seeing a St. Lucia where health is affordable. And that's why the minister spoke about universal health care, affordable health care. He didn't say he will have universal health care in 1 year. He said it's going to be affordable in stages. Diabetes, hypertension, cancer treatment in stages. That is a St. Lucia. A St. Lucia where we can have the minimum amount of diseases, of non-communicable diseases, by having open spaces, by the use of exercise. That's a St. Lucia we're looking for, Mr. Speaker. That's what we're looking for. That's not a St. Lucia of bitterness, a St. Lucia of strife, a St. Lucia of hatred, a St. Lucia of crime, Mr. Speaker. And that is why we are trying our best to give the police what they need, because the member of yourself is correct, Mr. Speaker. We seem to be turning stop in mud, but there are some successes. You heard that a cold case for 7 years was solved, which is, I want to congratulate the police force for that, Mr. Speaker. But so we, on this side, Mr. Speaker, we are looking to improve the quality of life for St. Lucia, even in the times we live in. And the times we live in are some of the hardest and most difficult times to be in government for anybody in the world. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you. I want to thank the member for Choiseul. He made his contribution, Mr. Speaker. But I still... No, but I didn't do much, you know, it's nice. Yeah. But you said, Mr. Speaker, I just want to tell a member, do not follow bad example. Don't continue, because you know, you have a future in politics. Don't follow bad example. Do not try to follow the best practice. And the best practice in politics is when you lose, you come back and you try to win again. When you're in politics, you have to have a certain level of humility. I mean, let me tell you something. The reason why, Mr. Speaker, they say that about I being Prime Minister. You know why, Mr. Speaker? Because I'm a humble guy. I'm a humble guy. I can't change, that's how I am. I've never allowed, like you too, you're a big banker. I never allow the trappings of power to get to my head. Never. None of us. I tell you something. We speak about priorities. Do you know that every vehicle that these ministers used was vehicles we inherited? We never changed one of them, you know. We've had the best record of saving money. In fact, the civil servants quarrel with me. In fact, sometimes they even think that they're trying to sabotage me when I ask for something and I can't get. That's the kind of prudence that we're doing. And talk about victimization. This government victimize people. Anytime somebody's contract expires and they not renewed, you're short victimization. But your government has the record of victimization that is shown in the amount of money you had to pay. The amount of money you had to pay lawyers to go after ambassadors. And you have to pay the settlement after which we paying some up to now. Some of the settlement money we have to pay because of people you all victimize. I talk about victimization. Mr. Speaker, my friend from Choiseul, you're a good man, but you're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong place. And you must have the courage to do what is right. I won't tell you what is right, what is right, but you must have the courage to do what's right. So, Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the staff of the Ministry of Finance. I thank the staff of the Parliament, the police, and everyone for the support. I thank you. And we have an exciting year. A year of challenges, but a year of excitement. Thank you.